Hello, I am Matt Davis from the Forest Focus Podcast, here to talk about the Forest view ahead of the game at Goodison Park on Sunday. To answer the questions that you guys have sent over to me kindly. Thoughts on the season so far. I know you sent me stuff on the table and it's not great where we are anyway with the points deduction. It's felt pretty miserable this week as well. Been a big own goal from the ownership around ticket prices for the next season that's gone down badly, and turn fans against each other. That's probably going to hamper the atmosphere in grounds, I would imagine, for the next couple of games. So that's another blow. So it's felt like a pretty miserable, exhausting season with the points deduction, which you guys all know about as well. It's just a case of trying to get through it and make sure we get one more point than Luton by the end of it, I would say. Although obviously, if the result goes our way on Sunday, I guess Everton are even more in the mix as well. But yeah, pretty awful season so far. The odds highlight really good win at Newcastle, beat Man United at home, beat Chelsea away. Should mention them, sorry. But yeah, generally really disappointing, I would say. Last couple of results: 2-2 v Wolves, 3-1 v Spurs. We could have got something at Spurs. We played really well when we got it to 1-1. Chris Wood, who's been really good, missed an absolute sitter that would have put us 2-1 up. And then second half, Spurs turned it on for 10 minutes and scored 2 goals. And then we were never in the match, but there was a feeling in the fan base that we should have gone for it more. If we got a second goal, we've seen that they were, weak at the back, as was demonstrated when they went to Newcastle the next game. So that was disappointing. We certainly felt like there was something there to be taken. The Wolves game was one we definitely should have won. That was the story of our season as well. We've played better in so many games and cost ourselves. Wolves had 1 corner and got 1 goal. We're awful at defending set pieces. We've got the worst set piece record in the league, and that's going to be the big worry for Forest fans going to this one, because we know how good Everton are in that area. But generally, we played well against Wolves, should have won the game. Fought back from 1-0 down really well from a totally defended goal, and generally played the better football. So we can definitely score goals in games. It's just our defending that's let us down. Thoughts on Nuno since coming in? He's made some progress in the way we play football. It's better football than under Steve Cooper. But what we haven't seen is any progress in league position. We're still basically where we were. We're winning games at the same rate as we were probably, but we look a more accomplished team. The one thing he hasn't done is fix our defensive failings. We still concede a ton of goals from set pieces and corners, as I mentioned, and that's cost us in a ton of games. Yeah, he's done okay. He's done okay. I think that we had a live show recently where I asked what if the joy was still out on him, and there was 200 people there and about 190 put their hands up to say it was. So he's not really convinced fans yet, but he's had a difficult job coming in for a manager who was so popular. Certainly, that's one big problem for him. And we had a lot of players at AFCON, and then they all came back injured, and he's had quite a lot of injuries to deal with. So I think he's done okay, and we'll have to see. If we stay up, I think he should stay, and we'll see how he goes next season. Thoughts on Everton on and off the pitch this season? I don't think they're a very good side, but I don't think Forest are a very good side. One thing that seems to happen with Everton is you're generally hard to beat, apart from the Chelsea game. That was a big surprise when I watched it and you came out and you really went after them instead of sitting in. And Beto missed a big chance at 0-0, and that probably need to go in if you're playing that way. You probably needed to take the lead. But generally, you look like you're disciplined, hard to beat, don't create very much at all. But I look at the numbers, and your defensive numbers are always decent. Your attacking numbers are decent, but you don't create massive chances, I would say. And you miss Calvert-Lewin. You look at a better side when Calvert-Lewin plays. I think even if he hasn't got goals, I'd say he's a big upgrade on Beto. And you've got a few quality players. Branthwaite looks really good. Pickford's obviously a good Premier League keeper. I like Onana and Doucouré. And Calvert-Lewin as mentioned. So there's decent players down the spine of the team, but I don't think Everton are a particularly good Premier League team, and I'm not being disrespectful because I don't think Forest are a particularly good Premier League team. And then off the pitch, it looks like it's just a nightmare, doesn't it? You see the accounts saying that the business is a material risk if you get relegated. the owner has wasted a ton of money on players, which you could argue our owner's done as well. You've had the points deduction nightmare and the whole 777 partners takeover. It looks a little bit out of the frying pan into the fire. They don't have any kind of track record with the clubs they've invested in elsewhere. So yeah, I feel for Everton fans. It's been a rough couple of years, and hopefully it gets better for them with the new stadium. And they stay in the Premier League, but they look like one of those clubs that, if they went into the Championship, would they go straight back up if they had to sell a load of players? I don't know. You could say the same thing about us as well. Would we go straight back up if we went down? Best and worst player for Forest this season. Oh, sorry. Missed this question. Thoughts on the whole point deduction mess of the Premier League? Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think the PSR point deductions have exposed is just how much of a mess the rules are. Just the lack of clarity, transparency around what the punishments actually are, how the process works, who's making the decisions, what information is given to fans and clubs. It's just a mess, and it sounds like the new system will be even worse. Although, Everton are going to have a big stadium, so that might help them, but it all feels like it's geared to the big clubs, and bigger clubs are able to do things like sell hotels on the corner of their ground or hire so many lawyers that charges are kicked down the road until you wonder if they're ever going to be heard. And I've come to really dislike the Premier League in general. And I'm starting to dislike football quite a lot more this week, especially with, I mentioned about the Forest season tickets, and then we see FA Cup replays being scrapped, and it just feels like another way in which, maybe if the Super League had have happened, it might have been for the betterment of the English game, which I never thought I'd say. But yeah, football, the cynicism and the money of football just feels worse than ever. That's off on a tangent. But yeah, they need to rewrite the PSR rules, and I feel like they need an independent regulator more than ever and very quickly. Best and worst player for Forest this season. Best player, there's been a few. We have had some good performers. Murillo has been great at the back. You probably might have seen him taking shots from 70 yards, and but he is a really good defender. He's just a little bit weak in the air and very inexperienced, very young, but I think he's destined for big things. Sort of our version of Branthwaite, but he's the one with the style and the skills from what I've seen. And Branthwaite looks like a really good defender and a really good prospect. Chris Wood's done really well up front. I think he's got a pretty good record against Everton. He scored a lot of goals in not so many starts relatively, so he's a big threat. And Morgan Gibbs-White is the other one. He's really the linchpin of our attack as a number 10. He's the one we're looking to cause problems in every game. Worst player, well, everyone's contributed in something, but on an Everton theme, Divock Origi's been the biggest disappointment. He's got one goal, and that was in the FA Cup. He's done very little in the Premier League. He's had a run of starts where he's had chances in games and missed them, and he had a big chance against Wolves to net the winner effectively or set up the winner. So yeah, he's been a big letdown. I think he might be the highest paid player in the squad. We're picking up his wages on loan from Milan. So yeah, he's been poor, but I know he's got a good moments against Everton. So if there's ever a time for him to step up from our point of view, it's now. Everton player Forest need to... likely lineup. I keep reading these questions wrong. Likely lineup. Matt Sells in goal. Nico Williams right back. Murillo one centre-back. The other centre-back is a little bit up in the air because Omobamidele's been playing, but he's 21 like Murillo. Neither of them are particularly good in the air, so there's a possibility that Willy Bolly will come in if he's fit. He would be playing if he's fit anyway, I think. He's been out injured. Felipe's out injured. Moussa Niakate has been a bit out of favour. So one of those could come in for more experience. Left back, Ola Aina. Danilo in midfield with either Ryan Yates or Nico Dominguez. Yates has been the one that's been playing, but his form's been a little bit down of late. Certainly the last two games, a lot of fans would like him out of the team for Dominguez, who's a bit more progressive on the ball, but Yates is scrappier and better in the air. And there's an argument to be made for Yates playing to defend corners. When we played Liverpool, he did a really good job on Van Dijk marking set pieces. So I think Yates might play. Elanga missed the last game through injury, so if he's still out, it'll be Gio Reyna playing wide right, but he drifts inside quite a lot. He's not really a winger. Gibbs White, number 10, Hudson-Odoi, left wing, and then Chris Wood up front. Everton player Forest need to watch. Well, I mean, James Garner's really good with it, or been really good for us with his set pieces. I think Onana and Decore in the box. I don't think you create much from open play, do you? So it's difficult to say. You've got to really mark him particularly tightly. So I feel like it's who's going to be the biggest threat from set pieces, and it's probably one of those lads, and Tarkowski as well. If Calvert-Lewin plays, I think Calvert-Lewin would be the one you have to watch from open play, because I think he's a clever forward and a really good player, even if he hasn't got the goals he would have wanted this season until recently. Right. Forest player Everton need to watch. Probably Gibbs White, the number 10. He was brilliant against Fulham in the first half when we scored 3 goals to go 3-0 up. If he really turns it on in games, then I think we give ourselves a really good chance of winning. He was good against Wolves. He scored in that one. And he set up Danilo's goal. So he's in really good form. So Morgan Gibbs White would be the one for me. Score prediction. Well, Everton lost that last game so badly that I think they're going to come out and revert to, basics of trying to keep a clean sheet. Forest are decent at scoring goals but can't defend. So I would go for a 1-1 draw in a pretty ugly game, really. Predictions for Premier League winner, Forest finish bottom 3. Premier League winner, Man City. I feel like Arsenal having that wobble, Liverpool, they're in terrible form, and City got the experience. So City to win the league. Forest finished 17th, bottom 3 as it is now. The 3 promoted teams: Luton, Burnley, Sheffield United. Best and worst moments of Forest fan. Best moment, the playoff semi-final win against Sheffield United on penalties. It felt like we were cursed before then. So actually getting to Wembley felt almost as good as getting promoted. So that's probably the best moment, because the game at Wembley was awful when we went up. So that one sticks. That one came to my head for immediately. Worst moment as a Forest fan was the playoff semi-final second leg defeat to Sheffield United in 2003, where we were really good all that season, played amazing football, had a really good young team with Michael Dawson was in it, Andy Reid was in it, players who went on to have really good careers in the Premier League were in it. And then we lost to Sheffield United, an awful team, a Warnock team, hated them, couldn't stand him, played no football at all, and they squeezed past us in extra time at Bramall Lane, and that set us back years because we had to sell a lot of those players. And if we had got promoted that season, then I think we could have pressed on and done all right in the Premier League for years to come. So yeah, those are my answers. Hope that's okay, and enjoy the game on Sunday.